I have 40 inches of 039 music wire. I'm going to make a spring for my Sendero RC crawler, and it's a custom spring. I've been working on these for a while. This is actually the 4th video that I've made and not published because I'm trying to perfect it before I dump it on the world, my 1 or 2 subscribers on my YouTube channel. But anyway, these things are fun to make. There's been a lot of experimentation to get these right. And so I get a video done, and then I think, well, that's actually not right. In other words, my process wasn't correct. And so I keep improving, and the springs are getting better. My Sendero, the Element Enduro Sendero, really works well with the custom springs I made. But what I'm trying to do here is get this to wind around without pulling out of that hole, and it looks like it's going to work. So we're going to make closed coils first, which starts the spring, and you want those to be right next to each other. And so I'll get, enough of them to where I feel confident that the spring at this end is going to be just so, and it looks like it's good. Now we put the lathe in the back gear, engage the half nut, and we're going to move 16 turns, 16 coils, rotating the lathe backwards. And here we go, I think. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now we'll close the coils on this end. And you have a spring. Well, not quite. Still needs to be the excess coils removed, and have to get it off the mandrel. But we'll just see how this turns out. There it is. Pretty neat. Okay. Now we have to cut off the excess coils, closed coils, and then we will have a spring that once we sand off each end and make it flat, it'll be called a closed ground spring. The other fun thing to do is find out where, as the coil comes up and starts touching the other coils, that's where you want to grind off the excess, if you will. You want to leave enough, but not too much. This has been the easiest way for me to get the excess coils off. I'll use a feeler gauge to protect that active coil that starts the spring. Flip it around and do the other side. Spring a little bit tight, which means I had perhaps a little bit too much tension on the wire as I made it on the lathe. But it still should fit on the shock body. That's important. So we got one coil under there. Nice. Now it's over to the belt sander. This is where we grind the ends of the spring flat. And there you go. Closed ground. Okay, now we're going to test the spring rate of the spring that we just made. Have a little fixture here that I came up with using my wife's rock drilling Dremel drill press. We're going to come up with the total ounces in 1 inch. $21.3, and that's what this particular spring design has been coming out at. It's 14 coils, 2.5 inches long, with a .039 wire diameter. And this makes a perfect spring rate for all 4 corners on the Sendero. Now, if you calculate it into inch pounds, take the 21.3 and divide it by 16, and there's your inch pounds, 1.33125. And that is what the other springs are on the car. So they're coming out consistent. I have 4 springs obviously on the car, and I've made, quite a few more in experimenting with how many coils, 13 coils, a little bit stiffer spring, 14 coils, a little bit softer spring, but just a little bit less than the stock spring, and the truck works quite well.